Hello, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about Silbite. This is a game recommended to me by someone on my Discord DMs. I couldn't dig it up, so sorry about that. It was only one person, so you know who you are. But I went into it with mediocre expectations, and I honestly came out pretty impressed. So the question on your mind right now is probably, what is this game? And Silbite is a single-player bullet hell. It's an extremely simplistic game, but it's also proof that you don't necessarily need an extremely complicated game to have a good game. Now, one thing that I want to get out of the way right off the bat is, number one, I am horrible at these types of games. I've never been a big top-down bullet hell shooter guy because my brain is very, very incapable of processing all that information. It overloads and I can't recognize patterns. I'm just stupid, okay? That's what it comes down to. I'm dumb and these games are really hard for me. And so because of that, this game was extremely challenging. And I'm sure for some, it's very, very easy because they're experienced in the genre and their brain is wired differently. But for me, it was hard as balls. And number two is that this game pissed me the hell off. I haven't been so angry at a video game probably since the Rage game from a little while ago. What was it? Like, I want to be the Roblox or whatever the hell. That game, nightmare, really made me upset. This game, probably on par. But the thing is, unlike that game, this game made me angry because of fair challenge rather than unfair challenge. So I suppose that's as good a place to start as any. The difficulty in Silbite is, well, I already told you, it's hard. On the baseline, there are 3 difficulties that you can choose from when you go into each encounter. You can either play on medium, hard, or insane. Ain't no easy mode here. And you know what? Later down the line, God, I kinda wish there was. Because the other thing that I probably should have mentioned earlier, I did not finish this game. I played for, I think, a little over 2.5 hours, didn't get to the end of it, and I got completely stonewalled, and when I got past my stonewall, I was like, nope, all right, I'm done, calling it quits. I ended up playing through the game entirely on hard mode up until this boss right here. And when I got here, I played hard mode over and over and over and over and over again. I got crushed and stomped into the floor over and over and over and over again. And eventually I was like, fuck this, I'm lowering the difficulty. Otherwise, I'm literally never going to complete this. And I was so exasperated after finally completing it, I was like, I can't play this anymore. My brain is going to explode. That being said, despite how angry I was at the game, I can't fault the game for that because, as I said earlier, this game is a fair challenge. It's about as fair of a challenge in a game that you'll get, and it's even more about as fair of a challenge as you're gonna get on Roblox. Because by some miracle, I don't know how they did it, the game doesn't suffer from all of the bullshit that seemingly every single quote-unquote difficult or hardcore game on Roblox has. And that's mostly referring to hit detection. Did you guys ever think that I would come on here and tell you that the hit detection was good? No, you didn't. Because what do I do every time I talk about one of these games where you need to be extremely precise? I come in and I say, you know, the game is pretty fun, but these games are doomed on Roblox because the hit detection sucks. And I can't say it here because when I got hit, I was getting hit. And when I avoided attacks, I avoided attacks. The hit detection is so good that I didn't even recognize it as a problem. I didn't entertain the hit detection in my brain until I was completely finished playing. And that's how you know it works, because you just expect it to work. And so if you never run into those bullshit areas where you're like, God damn it, I dodged that, and you didn't, then you never even entertain the idea in your head that there was a problem to begin with, or there even could have been a problem. Every time I took a hit or I got killed, I might have been pissed off and I might have been spewing obscenities, but it was never, goddamn, this game sucks because it doesn't work. It was more, goddamn, I suck, how do I keep getting hit by that? The game itself is another one of those games that I almost refer to as a barely Roblox game, because at face value, unless you're looking at the characters on the screen, a lot of which you can just flat out toggle, then you would probably be hard pressed to even figure out that this was a Roblox game to begin with. And that is, well, it's always a good sign. Whoever did the art for all of the different characters in the game did a phenomenal job. The music, I believe, was pulled from various different games, so not a whole lot to say about it there. And in general, I pretty much only have good things to say about this game. That doesn't mean that there weren't any bad things, though, because there absolutely was. And the absolute biggest one was the key bindings. What the fuck happened here? There's a very good chance that there's somewhere you can go to rebind the keys, because the options in terms of what you're able to customize with the game are not only important, but really helpful. Something that I wish I'd found earlier on, and I only found at the very end when I got frustrated, was the ability to hide your character, so that way it only shows the hitbox that your character has. So rather than looking at the graphics that are applied to your Roblox avatar, you can just see the little dot, which makes avoiding attacks and being very precise a hell of a lot easier. You can do the same things with the backgrounds, although I found it in certain later stages that I probably wouldn't have wanted to turn this off anyway, because you can use the backgrounds as little cue spots on where you want to be in specific patterns. But regardless, having all of these options blows my mind that you can't rebind things in the game. Thank God that the game has an auto attack option, because if it didn't, then your attack button would be J. J! How did you guys pick J for attack? Who in their right mind is using WASD to move and J to attack? I have no clue. But it gets worse. K is to slow your character down. So if you want to move slowly in order to be precise, you have to reach your thumb across your entire keyboard, hold K, and then use WASD to move. What in the Sam hell is that? Thankfully, my mouse has extra mouse buttons that I can rebind, so I just rebound one of my mouse buttons to K in order to make it so it would be significantly easier to slow myself down when I needed to. But what? I hope the developers see this. I really, really do. Great job with the game, guys, but I gotta know, what is up with the binds? Like, do you guys, clearly you have to play your own game, right? Are you guys just okay with reaching halfway across the keyboard? I assume they probably play on controller or something, but even if you're playing on controller, if you're making the game on PC, I don't get it. I really, really don't. And the other big problem that I had with the game, which again, it doesn't sound like a big problem, and that's because it really isn't. I didn't have any massive issues. But that was the ability to quickly restart a boss. It just feels like it takes way too long. And getting iced out in some games is nice. And honestly, at some points when I was playing this game, it probably would have been good to get iced out, but it didn't actually work out that way, because the entire time that I was getting iced and having to click through a bunch of dialogue options and select my difficulty again, I was just getting more angry about the fact that I had to jump through all these hoops. So if the idea was to try to ice out players to calm them down, it didn't work, because I just got more mad at the fact that I was sitting here trying to skip through a bunch of dialogue as fast as possible. I don't understand why when you press R, it can't just instantly restart the match from the very beginning. Right now, if you press R, which kills your character and resets you, you have to go through all of the dialogue again, watch these little tiny cutscenes, and it doesn't take that long, but it is long enough to just be annoying and feel unnecessary. If you want to make it so people can change up their difficulties or quit to a different menu, then make a different bind for that. And on that note, actually do make a different bind for that. Because as it stands right now, if you're in a game and alive and you want to go back to the menu, you have to kill yourself. And not in the way where you press R and it restarts the mission. You have to die physically by getting hit 4 times and then hit the return to menu button or restart the whole game. Which just, Like, it's a nitpick, I know, but it feels so unnecessary. I don't know why there isn't a bind or something to just go back to the menu. And I mean, really, that's it for the things that I was upset about. I guess you could technically make an argument, and I thought about it a few times, that the customization overall is not very impressive. But if it was more impressive, then it would take away a lot of the challenge, I'm sure. There's a bunch of modifiers you can put on to make things either easier or harder. I didn't mess with them too much, but overall, upgrading your character is just changing the amount of damage your bullets do and changing your active skill. And my active skill, I oftentimes forgot I even had, which is because I'm terrible. But regardless, having the different races that you can pick is cool. It's nice to have more options, but I felt like the options weren't that impactful for what they were, and the amount of time that it seemed like you would have needed to spend to get a lot of the later ones that almost certainly wouldn't have made too huge of a difference, well, I didn't really get it. And I double didn't really get it because I didn't even check for microtransactions. I assumed they were there because it's a free-to-play Roblox game. They might not have been, and maybe that's the reason for the grind, and I'm never going to come on here and complain about games having too large of a free-to-play grind when the game is perfectly playable without paying for anything. But you kind of get the idea. I think you see where I'm coming from. But with that, well, I'm pretty much done talking about this. The game, as usual with a lot of these lesser-known Roblox games, is unfortunately sitting at around 60 or so players. If you have any interest in these games whatsoever, or just want a bit of a distraction for a few hours, I highly recommend checking it out. As usual, I'll be throwing the game's link in the description. And that's about all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video and found it informative, you can of course leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.